dollar to my name. I've had friends that walked away, and I've even lost myself a time or two. There were bridges crossed and burned, but through all the wreckage I have learned, there is one thing that I could never lose. If I've got Jesus, I've got all that I could ever need. Take the world away from me, and I'll be okay. If I've got Jesus, there's a hope that's living deep inside, a joy that I could never hide, and a safe place to fall. If I've got Jesus, I've got it all. I've seen weakness turn to strength. I've seen failures met with grace. And it's not from what I've done, it's Christ in me. A miracle I can't explain. Oh, He's given me His name. I'm the richest man that I could ever be. If I've got Jesus, I've got all that I could ever need. Take the world away from me, and I'll be okay. If I've got Jesus, there's a hope that's living deep inside, a joy that I could never hide, a safe place to fall. If I've got Jesus, I've got it all. Someday that trumpet's gonna sound, and the King of Heaven will rise up from the clouds, coming down. I'll hit my knees, oh Lord, then sings my soul. I'm coming home. If I've got Jesus, I've got all that I could ever need. Take the world away from me, and I'll be okay. If I've got Jesus, there's a hope that's living deep inside, a joy that I could never hide, and a safe place to fall. If I've got Jesus, I've got it all. If I've got Jesus, I've got it all. I've got it all.
All right. Well, again, Mother's Day, and just as the video said, not everybody celebrates Mother's Day the same way. I mean, some don't have their mom with them. Some look back at their moms and their relationship, and it's kind of friction. But we are so thankful for you, so thankful for all of you, even you that aren't moms. We are thankful for you. And that being said, I don't know what Mother's Day means to you. But for me, it has always been a time when we just celebrate the amazing women in our lives, and I probably have appreciated this day more in recent years than in the past. And I am going to preach a sermon this morning that I think it's been on my mind a lot these last several Mother's Day. I have never preached this like this, because I know when I get done and I get home, I will be in trouble for what I'm about to say. Yeah, and that's the reason I haven't told anything. I haven't said anything to you about this, because I know I'm going to be in trouble. But this is my heart, and I think you will understand my. I don't think it's biased. I think I'm with everybody this morning, but I'm going to preach about us in our life today. Um, I've always said that my wife is probably one of the strongest women I know. She has a hidden strength that very few people have ever seen. She has always been known as a quiet person, not very outspoken. Actually, her Uncle George, her childhood pastor, he married us, and I was afraid that when he did our wedding that he would call her by her pet name. He always called her Mousie instead of Missy, or he called her Mouse because she was so quiet. But over these last 3 years, with her battle of oral cancer, she has displayed a level of strength and faith that not many people possess. And it's only been in these recent years that others have been able to see in her what I've seen and known for years. So when I think about her on this day and the characteristics that she has displayed, I began to think about what we could all learn from that example. And I know that she's not the only one who has ever displayed these types of characteristics, but she's the example that I've seen. She's the example that I have noticed, and you know, when I see her going about her everyday life, even when it takes everything that she has to do this, she still possesses this strength. So, with the day being Mother's Day, in addition to my wife, Missy, I simply want to say thank you to all of our ladies for being who and what God has made you to be in your life. Without you, without your character, Compassion Church simply would not exist. I'll just say it like this. In most of the positions of leadership in our church are held by women. It wasn't necessarily designed that way. It just kind of happened. But I am personally thankful. And I have so many names running through my mind right now. I'm so thankful for the strong women that God has blessed our church to have. So this morning, this Mother's Day, I'd like to preach the sermon that I have entitled, The Definition of a Strong Woman. Whenever I think about what defines a woman of strong character, my mind, biblically speaking, immediately goes to the unnamed woman in Proverbs 31. How many of you have ever read Proverbs 31 before? You understand about the woman that it is talking about in that proverb. I sincerely believe that proverb, that woman is unnamed, so that we can take the characteristics that she displays and we can apply them to any strong woman in our life. And so I think that, also the young women in our lives who are aspiring to be strong can also see themselves in this same proverb. Now, you need to understand that when we look at the book of Proverbs, it is not written as some continuous narrative, an ongoing story, but rather it is a collection of wise sayings from King Solomon that can be applied to our lives for guidance and instruction. For example, the verses that we're going to be looking at today in Proverbs 31, verses 10 through 31, regarding the value of this unnamed woman, comprise what is known as a Hebrew acrostic poem. And you say, what in the world is that? That simply means that each verse or each phrase in this section of verses begins with a successive letter in the Hebrew alphabet. This section of verses was actually a tool used to teach children the Hebrew alphabet growing up. And the context of this poem is a collection of instructions from a mother to her son as he approaches manhood and he is actually searching for a wife. She's telling him, this is what you need to look for in a wife. Um, one commentator said it like this, that he believed that the name King Lemuel, which is stated in the first verse, is actually a pet name that Bathsheba, Solomon's mother, had for him. Solomon means beloved of the Lord. Lemuel means dedicated to the Lord. Very, very possible. But a lot of times when you look, if you see Mother's Day cards, religious Mother's Day cards, or whatever, you'll see them pull verses or phrases from Proverbs 31. And you'll see them speak about the charm and the grace and the loveliness and the sensitivity of these women. But for today's sermon, I want to take a little different approach. And I want to look at these verses from a little bit different angle. And I'd like to take a single word out of Proverbs 31:10 and build upon that thought. Look on the verse here, on the screen here, the verse Proverbs 31:10. He says, "Who can find a virtuous and capable wife? She is more precious than rubies." Now, it's very interesting when you look at what Solomon says here as he recalls the advice that he has received from his mother regarding looking for a wife in verse 10, that this phrase, it's translated virtuous and capable in the New Living Translation, but it is really a single word. It is a single pronoun in the Hebrew language. It literally means valor, strength, or might. It's a masculine word. It's a masculine pronoun used a lot of times in the Old Testament to describe military character. People of strong nature, strong, forceful nature. But isn't it interesting when you look at this term that Solomon uses this as a description from his mother as a trait for him to search for the ideal wife in his life? In the text before us, Solomon, I'm sure, he is recalling a day in the life of this unnamed woman. I'm persuaded as you read about this, he's writing about his mom. He's writing about someone very close and very dear to him. So let me paraphrase this proverb for us this morning. As it happens, it's long before daybreak. This woman gets out of bed so she can begin her day caring for those that she loves. Her heart is dedicated to her family, and she is very diligent in her actions. The first thing she does is to take care of those in her own home. And I can imagine that Solomon's mind has maybe recaptured a childhood memory, a scene in their home in Jerusalem where his mom is up already before everyone else, and she's preparing for the day. As the morning continues, she works her way through the markets and through the streets, and she's making quick stops, getting the supplies she needs for her household. And everything she is doing is for the good of the house. Solomon is clearly describing a woman of strength. And this woman that Solomon is talking about is a person that is so dedicated to her family that she'll do whatever it takes to care for their needs as she fulfills her responsibilities. Look at how Solomon describes this woman's relationship with her husband in verse 12. It says, she brings him good, not harm, all the days of her life. That's a woman of great character. This woman makes sure her husband's reputation is upheld in the community. And listen, you know as well as I do, if he's like any other man, he has given her plenty of reasons to badmouth him out in public. I'm sure he's probably done a lot of boneheaded stuff that she could tell on him. And listen, the Lord knows I have done plenty of things, stupid things over the years that Missy could tell others if she wanted, but those are between us, right, babe? Yeah, she's giving me one of these. But like this woman in Proverbs 31, my wife is a woman of impeccable character who watches over those she loves. Solomon doesn't go into a lot of detail describing the hurt and the lack of the respect that this woman has received. He simply notes that in spite of life, she is a woman of strength and a woman of character. A lot of people don't know this about Missy, but wherever we go, she has to start preparing at least 2 hours in advance. To get herself ready mentally, to take care of her physical needs as a result of cancer and what is left in her life. And that means some very early mornings whenever we have to go to Columbus for a doctor's appointment, or whether she watches our grandson, which is usually about twice a week. And I see it so many times. It takes all the strength she has, but she is faithful to that responsibility whenever she's needed. And I see this same characteristic in so many of our ladies here. Thank God, listen, thank God for the women who are faithful to their responsibilities here at Compassion Church. I know without your tireless effort and dedication that our church would only be a shadow of what God has blessed us to be. In fact, in Romans chapter 16, verse 1, the Apostle Paul, he tells the Roman church, he commends them before them of Phoebe. He said, a woman who has served the church faithfully. He said, give her whatever she needs because her value to this ministry is priceless. And that is how I feel about the ladies God has blessed Compassion Church with. Listen, this is the same type of woman Solomon is describing in this text. At the end of verse 10, he said her value exceeded the value of rubies. Now, we would do well to remember this as we honor all the ladies in our lives today. You know, as you look at those in your life, those that God has blessed you with, don't take them for granted. Don't brush off what they do. Respect them for who they are and what God has blessed you to have through them in your life. As you look further down in this proverb, Solomon describes other characteristics of this strong woman. It says, as she works through her day, Solomon remembers that whatever she faces, she approaches it with confidence. In verse 16, he even remembers her buying a piece of property for the purpose of planting a vineyard. I mean, that's wow. And then, look at what Solomon says about her in verse 17. He says that she is energetic and strong, a hard worker. A recent study determined that 70% of mothers in the United States with children under the age of 18 are part of the public workforce. 75% of them are employed full-time. How many full-time employed women do we have here with us today? Can I see your hand? Look at that. Let's give them a hand. Listen, the strength of this woman just isn't a description of her character as described in this verse. Solomon is recalling physical endurance. In verse 19, Solomon describes a scene of an industrious woman who is working with her hands to provide for her family. Another survey recently calculated that 15 million families in the U.S. were headed by a single parent. 80% of those 15 million were a single mom. I don't know. I don't think that Solomon was exclusively describing a single mother in this proverb, but this describes a lot of single moms that I know. These women work twice as hard, not just to provide for their families, but also to fill a void in their children's lives due to the lack of a father in the home. And I applaud these mothers, especially today. In this proverb, Solomon is recalling this woman's ability to skillfully provide for her family with determination and strength. You know, as I watch Missy go through her day, I know there are things that cancer has left her to deal with that would make the simplest life difficult. She has often said it'd be very easy to become a hermit and just stay home. But I stand in awe of her as I watch her press through these challenges to do everything she does at the level that she does. All the while, she maintains a level of grace and tenderness that is unmatched. Solomon notes this same thing about the woman he's describing in this Proverbs, because as you look a little closer at the text, you'll see that this strong woman, though she is full of strength and energy and wisdom and understanding, she has not lost her tenderness. Look at verse 20 here. You're going to see a strong woman who is also a woman of generosity and compassion. It says that she extends a helping hand to the poor and opens her arms to the needy. Essentially, Solomon is saying that the woman of strength will not only meet the needs of her home, but she will have a heart of compassion for those and the needs of those that she comes in contact with. I'll be the first to admit that over the last 30 plus years that Missy and I have been together, she has taught me what true compassion looks like. I am not a naturally compassionate person. My first reaction is, just suck it up. It'll be all right. That's not always the most compassionate thing to say. Missy has taught me what true compassion looks like. And I think God has wired most women with a compassion gland that I think just, is somewhere right here, and it just kind of throbs intensely whenever there is a need that arises that they see. But whatever it is, I think this is the kind of character that Jesus desires for all of us to have. A heart that is confident in the Lord, who seeks to honor Jesus and has a true passion for loving others. In verses 21 through 27 of this proverb, Solomon rehearses all that he has said to this point regarding the strength of this woman and her integrity, her ability, her generosity, her strength. But in verse 28, he begins giving this woman the praise that she deserves for her character. Look at what he says on the screen. He says that her children stand and bless her. Her husband praises her. That's one of the main reasons I'm preaching this the way that I am this morning, the last portion of that verse, by the way. And you see, after Solomon fully describes this woman of strength and gives her the applause she deserves, in verses 30 and 31, Solomon makes his point. This is the proverb. Everything up to this point was context. But look at these verses on the screen. Here's the proverb Solomon gives us for today. Charm is deceptive, and beauty does not last. But a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. Reward her for all she has done. Let her deeds publicly declare her praise. In the first portion of this verse 30, Solomon describes a woman that most would be drawn to. A charming, beautiful woman. He concludes that thought by saying that if this is all that a woman possesses, if this is all she has to offer, these traits are shallow. They won't last. But a woman who fears the Lord will be greatly praised. This is a woman of strength. This is a woman of integrity. This is a woman of character. This is a woman to be honored. And these are the women that we praise today. So to all of us on Mother's Day, listen, let's honor these women in our lives who truly deserve our praise. And I want to thank God for the women who have cared for, provided, and protected us when we're in need. Their example is one that should be modeled after our young ladies. The strength of their character is something that should never be disregarded by any of us at any time. In fact, as I close this morning, it's something that we should all strive for and seek after. And that's why today we honor the life of a strong woman. I think every woman here deserves a hand clap of praise this morning. I'm going to close in prayer, and then you are dismissed to go and be with your moms and your children today. Heavenly Father, God, thank you for today. Thank you for these women who exemplify so much strength in their character and in their life for who they are and what they are. and how they love you and how they love us. God, I thank you for the example that I've seen in my life through my own mother and then also my wife. God, this strength is something that can keep a family together and keep the enemy at bay. Lord, can conquer insurmountable odds, and God, just honor you in the most profound way. God, thank you for these examples in our lives. Thank you for their heart, their love. And God, I pray that we would all learn from their characteristics. That God, these are not just characteristics of a good mother, but Lord, a child of you, that one that loves and serves you and honors your name greatly. God, I pray that we would all honor you in these same ways as we love those around us and love those you've given us in our life. Now, this Mother's Day, I pray, go with each of us as we go out and celebrate our moms and our wives and our families, and just spend this time together loving you and praising you for all you do. In Jesus' name, and amen.